In recent months, discussions surrounding the next generation of artificial intelligence have reached a level the industry has never seen before. Just a few years ago, most people viewed neural networks as an interesting experiment capable of generating images, writing text, or answering questions. Today, the situation has changed dramatically. Artificial intelligence is gradually transforming from an auxiliary tool into a general-purpose technology comparable in its impact to electricity, the internet, or the arrival of the personal computer. That is why any rumors about the next generation of OpenAI models generate enormous interest not only among developers, but also among governments, military analysts, major corporations, and financial markets. Many researchers believe that each new generation of language models ceases to be merely a smarter version of the previous one. Instead, there is an accumulation of capabilities that gradually begins to create a qualitatively new level of intelligence. If the earliest models could only maintain a conversation, modern systems are already capable of programming, analyzing vast amounts of information, assisting in scientific research, creating engineering designs, and functioning as full-fledged intellectual assistants. This is precisely why discussions about a potential GPT-6 provoke such a strong reaction. The main question is not even how much smarter the next version of artificial intelligence might become. Something else is far more important. What happens if the next leap turns out to be significantly more powerful than even the developers themselves expect? The history of technology shows that the most profound consequences usually arise not when a technology develops slowly, but when it reaches a point of acceleration. Steam engines remained technical curiosities for decades before suddenly transforming industry. The internet existed long before it became the foundation of the global economy. Smartphones did not appear overnight either, but when a critical mass of technologies converged at a single point, changes began that could no longer be stopped. Artificial intelligence may follow a similar path. Many analysts believe that humanity is currently at the beginning of a period of exponential growth in AI capabilities. Each new model is trained more quickly, operates more efficiently, and gains access to increasingly advanced computational resources. At the same time, the volume of available data continues to grow, training algorithms improve, and new architectural approaches emerge. All of this creates the sense that we are approaching an unknown threshold. This is where the term AGI, artificial general intelligence, enters the discussion. The concept generally refers to a system capable of performing intellectual tasks at or above the human level across virtually any field of activity. It is important to understand that there is currently no universally accepted definition of AGI. Different researchers interpret it in different ways. For some, it is a system capable of successfully handling a wide range of tasks without additional training. For others, it is a true digital mind capable of independently acquiring new knowledge and transferring it across different domains. The very fact that the world's largest technology companies have begun openly discussing such questions already says a great deal. Not long ago, conversations about artificial superintelligence belonged primarily to the realm of science fiction. Today, these topics are being discussed at closed government meetings, research centers, and international security forums. Advocates of accelerated AI development argue that humanity stands on the threshold of the greatest technological breakthrough in its history. In their view, a sufficiently powerful artificial intelligence could accelerate scientific discoveries in medicine, energy, materials, science, and biotechnology. Even today, neural networks are helping researchers identify new drug molecules, model complex chemical processes, and analyze enormous collections of scientific publications. If AI capabilities continue to grow, the pace of scientific progress could accelerate significantly. However, critics of rapid development warn about the other side of the issue. They believe that humanity may be confronting a technology whose consequences could prove far more significant than those of the internet or nuclear energy. The primary reason for concern is that intelligence is a universal force multiplier. A more intelligent system can make decisions faster, plan actions more effectively, and achieve objectives more efficiently. This is why some AI safety researchers focus on the problem of control. As long as systems remain limited tools, The risks are relatively understandable. They may make mistakes, provide false information, or be misused by malicious actors. But if we imagine a hypothetical system that surpasses the world's best experts simultaneously in programming, mathematics, engineering, strategy, and scientific analysis, an important question arises. How reliably will humanity be able to control such a technology? One scenario that is discussed particularly often is the so-called rapid intelligence takeoff. According to this hypothesis, a sufficiently advanced system could eventually participate in its own improvement. Even a small increase in efficiency could accelerate the development of the next generation of algorithms. In theory, this could create a cycle in which each new version helps build an even more capable successor. Some experts consider this scenario unlikely, while others view it as one of the most important long-term risks. At the same time, it is important to understand that most specialists do not expect a superintelligence to suddenly appear tomorrow morning. The real picture is much more complex. Even the most powerful systems are constrained by computational resources, architectural limitations, and safety requirements. Nevertheless, the pace of progress in the field is so rapid that governments in many countries are already establishing dedicated commissions and AI monitoring centers. Another major question concerns the labor market. If the next generation of AI proves significantly more capable than today's models, the impact could affect millions of professions. The most immediate effects would likely be felt in information-based fields such as programming, analytics, law, accounting, marketing, design, and many other areas. Some experts predict widespread job displacement, while others argue that professions will not disappear, but instead undergo radical transformation. Supporters of the technology point out that every industrial revolution has been accompanied by similar fears. When tractors appeared, many predicted the collapse of agriculture. When computers emerged, people expected the disappearance of office work on a massive scale. In reality, economies adapted and created entirely new industries. Artificial intelligence may follow a similar path, although the scale of change could be much greater. This is why future generations of AI are attracting an unprecedented level of attention. The discussion is no longer about a new piece of software or another application. What may be at stake is a technology capable of reshaping the balance of power between nations, transforming the structure of the global economy, and altering the very nature of human activity. And as the industry moves closer to new frontiers of capability, debates continue to intensify over how quickly society should move forward and what safeguards and control mechanisms need to be established in advance. If we look at the situation more broadly, it becomes clear why discussions about the next generation of artificial intelligence are increasingly moving beyond the scope of ordinary technology news. The issue is no longer about which chatbot answers questions better, or which company will be the first to introduce a new feature. What is at stake is the question of who will control the most powerful intellectual tool in human history. That is precisely why competition among the largest technology corporations is becoming increasingly intense. Today, Openai, Google, Anthropic, xAI, Meta, and a number of other companies are effectively participating in one of the largest technological races of the modern era. Many analysts already compare what is happening to the space race between the USSR and the United States during the last century. Only now, instead of rockets and satellites, the key resources are computing power, algorithms, and data. Companies are investing tens of billions of dollars in building next-generation data centers, purchasing hundreds of thousands of graphics processors, and hiring the best specialists from around the world. Against this backdrop, every new generation of AI automatically becomes an event of global significance. Investors closely monitor every statement made by company executives. Financial markets react to rumors about new models. Government agencies create dedicated artificial intelligence development programs, fearing that they could be left behind. All of this creates the impression that the world is gradually entering a new era of technological competition. Experts are particularly concerned by the fact that the development of artificial intelligence is progressing much faster than legislation. History shows that technology almost always advances ahead of regulators. The internet spread before comprehensive digital security laws appeared. Social media managed to transform political processes in many countries long before governments began to understand the scale of their influence. With artificial intelligence, the situation may prove even more complex. Imagine a future in which AI models become so effective that they can automatically perform most of the intellectual work of an average specialist. This could lead to significant economic changes. Some professions may begin transforming within just a few years. Companies that previously required hundreds of employees to perform certain tasks could accomplish the same volume of work with much smaller teams. From a business perspective, this appears to be a massive increase in efficiency. From a societal perspective, however, it raises the question of how millions of people will adapt to these new conditions. Some economists warn that humanity could face the largest labor market redistribution since the Industrial Revolution. Moreover, while previous revolutions primarily automated physical labor, the new wave of automation could affect intellectual work. That is why many governments are already discussing workforce retraining programs, new educational models, and possible mechanisms for social support. Scientific research also deserves special attention. Today, scientists spend enormous amounts of time processing data, identifying patterns, and analyzing experimental results. More powerful artificial intelligence could dramatically accelerate these processes. In theory, this could lead to the discovery of new medicines, more efficient energy sources, new materials, and advanced manufacturing technologies. Some researchers even suggest that AI development could shorten the timeline for major scientific breakthroughs from decades to just a few years. However, another side of the issue emerges here. The more powerful a technology becomes, the greater the risk that it may be used for unintended purposes. Human history demonstrates that virtually every major invention can be used for both beneficial and harmful purposes. Nuclear energy provides electricity for millions of people, yet it also gave humanity the most destructive weapons in history. Biotechnology helps create medicines, but it requires strict safety controls. Artificial intelligence is no exception. Some security specialists believe that the most likely risks of the coming years are not related to a hypothetical superintelligence, but rather to human actions. More powerful models could be used to create large-scale information campaigns, automate cyber attacks, generate enormous amounts of disinformation, and enable other dangerous scenarios. That is why AI safety is becoming one of the key areas of research. Another interesting aspect concerns international politics. Many countries are beginning to view artificial intelligence as a strategic resource, whereas influence was once based on natural resources, industry, or military power. In the future, the ability to create the most effective intelligent systems may become enormously important. Some analysts already describe AI as a new form of 21st century infrastructure. Imagine a country that is the first to gain access to significantly more advanced artificial intelligence systems. Such systems could accelerate scientific research, optimize industrial production, improve logistics, assist in the development of new technologies, and even participate in strategic planning. Naturally, other nations would not want to fall behind. That is why many experts speak about the beginning of a global AI race. Interestingly, at the same time, the number of scientists calling for caution continues to grow. They are not opposed to artificial intelligence itself. On the contrary, most of them recognize the enormous potential of the technology. However, they believe that humanity should devote no less attention to safety issues than to performance improvements. In their view, every new stage of AI development should be accompanied by additional mechanisms for oversight and verification. There is also a philosophical side to the issue. If we imagine that, within a few decades, systems comparable to humans in intelligence, or superior in certain areas, emerge, humanity will face questions for which there are currently no ready answers. What will a society look like in which intellectual work is largely automated? How will education change? Which skills will remain the most valuable? How will the role of human beings in the world itself change? Some futurists believe that we are only at the beginning of a process that future historians will regard as one of the most important events in the history of civilization. In their view, the development of artificial intelligence could have an impact comparable to the invention of writing, the printing press, electricity, or the internet. Such comparisons may seem overly bold, but the scale of investment and the speed of progress are causing more and more people to take these forecasts seriously. At the same time, it is important to remember that there is a tremendous amount of exaggeration surrounding AI. Every new generation of models is accompanied by a wave of dramatic statements, sensational predictions, and apocalyptic scenarios. In practice, technological development is usually a much more gradual and complex process. Many challenges require not only intelligence, but also physical interaction with the world, developed infrastructure, regulatory frameworks, and human oversight. Nevertheless, even the most cautious experts acknowledge that the coming years may prove decisive for the entire industry. The next generation of artificial intelligence may demonstrate just how close humanity has come to systems capable of performing a broad range of intellectual tasks at an entirely new level. That is why attention to future AI releases remains so intense. And the more capable neural networks become, the more frequently a question arises that only recently seemed like pure science fiction. What will happen at the moment when artificial intelligence stops being merely a tool and becomes an independent intellectual partner of humanity? Some believe this will open an era of unprecedented prosperity and accelerate the development of civilization by centuries. Others warn that such a transition will require maximum caution and responsibility. One thing can be said with near certainty. Regardless of when truly revolutionary next-generation systems appear, the world has already entered a period in which artificial intelligence is becoming one of the main drivers of global change. And each new generation of models will not simply be another software update, but another step toward a future that today seems both immensely promising and, to some extent, unknown. It is interesting that the closer humanity moves toward new frontiers in the field of artificial intelligence, the more society's attitude toward the very idea of machine intelligence changes. Not so long ago, most people perceived AI as an interesting technological novelty. Today, more and more experts are beginning to discuss it as one of the key factors shaping the future of the global economy, politics, and even national security. The reason is simple. For the first time in history, humanity is creating a system capable of performing not physical labor, but intellectual work. One of the most actively discussed topics is the so-called acceleration moment. Some researchers believe there is a certain point after which progress begins to occur faster than most people are able to comprehend. History offers similar examples. When the first personal computers appeared, few could imagine that within a few decades billions of people would carry devices in their pockets with the computing power of past supercomputers. The internet also remained for a long time a tool for a limited group of specialists before becoming the foundation of modern digital civilization. According to a number of analysts, artificial intelligence may follow a similar trajectory. At first, the technology appears as a useful assistant. Then it becomes an indispensable tool for professionals. After that, it begins to spread into virtually all areas of activity. And then comes the moment when society can no longer imagine its existence without it. Many believe that the world is currently somewhere between the second and third stages of this process. Against this backdrop, forecasts are emerging that would have seemed like science fiction just a few years ago. Some futurists suggest that in the future, AI could serve as a personal scientific consultant, medical expert, financial analyst, teacher, and even a full-fledged assistant in life decision-making. Imagine a system that knows your goals, understands your habits, analyzes vast amounts of information, and helps find the most effective solutions in almost any situation. For millions of people, such a tool could become as familiar as the smartphone is today. However, this is where one of the most difficult questions arises. If humanity begins to rely more and more on artificial intelligence, will this lead to a gradual dependence on technology? Some experts warn that excessive trust in automated systems could lead to a decline in critical thinking. If a machine always provides a ready-made answer, some people may gradually stop analyzing information on their own. This does not mean that AI is harmful, but it shows how important it is to maintain a balance between the use of technology and the development of one's own skills. Another interesting scenario is related to education. Even today, Neural networks are capable of explaining complex topics in simple language, helping with learning foreign languages, solving problems, and searching for information. If future systems become significantly more intelligent, education could change dramatically. Every person could receive a personal digital mentor that adapts learning to their abilities, pace, and interests. Some specialists believe that such a transformation could raise the level of education worldwide and make high-quality knowledge accessible to billions of people. At the same time, interest is growing in the question of where the boundary lies between a tool and an intelligent agent. Today, modern systems remain assistants that execute user commands. But if we imagine more advanced versions of the future, capable of independently planning actions within a given goal, an entirely new set of questions emerges. How should such systems be regulated? What limitations should exist? Who will be responsible for mistakes? These topics are already being discussed in scientific circles and are likely to become even more relevant in the coming years. Some experts believe that the main challenge of the future is not whether artificial intelligence will become too intelligent. Much more important is another question: whether humanity will be able to adapt quickly enough to the consequences of its development. History shows that technological progress often occurs faster than social change. Laws, educational systems, the labor market, and public institutions usually respond with a delay. Therefore, many researchers believe that the coming decade will be a period of large-scale adaptation to a new technological reality. In the end, there are a huge number of questions surrounding future generations of AI and relatively few definitive answers. No one can reliably name the date of the arrival of AGI. No one knows what the path to superintelligence will look like, and no one can accurately predict the consequences of such an event. However, almost everyone agrees on one thing: the development of artificial intelligence has already become one of the most important processes of the modern era. And regardless of how revolutionary future models turn out to be, they will have an increasing impact on the economy, science, education, and the daily lives of billions of people. Therefore, every new step in the development of AI is perceived not just as another technological update, but as another signal that humanity is gradually moving closer to a new era. An era in which intelligence will become one of the most valuable resources on the planet. And the ability to effectively interact with artificial intelligence may turn out to be as important as knowing how to use a computer or the internet today. And that is why discussions about future generations of artificial intelligence continue with such intensity. Because what may be at stake is not just the development of a single industry, but the direction of the entire future of human civilization.